What do I accept as true? One important perspective in understanding the universe and human life is this: the reality we experience is not simply something given from the outside, but something deeply intertwined with our inner state. For human beings, thinking is not merely a process of handling information. It is an act of accepting and recognizing a certain state. Depending on what we feel to be real and what we accept as truth, we end up living in entirely different worlds. If a person feels that their life is healthy and sufficient, then in a sense, they are already living in that state. Of course, external conditions do not change immediately. However, their perception and attitude influence their actions, reshape their relationships, and gradually direct their life toward that inner state. On the other hand, a person who continually focuses on lack and suffering interprets the world within that framework. As a result, they repeatedly reinforce the same patterns within their own life. This is often described as the universe responding. More precisely, it can be understood as the process by which human consciousness selectively organizes and interprets experience. Our attention, emotions, and beliefs emphasize certain possibilities while pushing others into the background. Through this process, life gradually takes on a certain direction. From this perspective, we can reconsider the meaning behind ancient teachings. The biblical idea that more is given to those who use and expand what they already have, or the saying that a peaceful expression softens hostility, is not merely moral instruction. It suggests a principle in which inner states influence external relationships and opportunities. This principle is not a supernatural system of reward, but rather a structural characteristic of human existence. However, an important point must be made here. This should not lead to a simplistic optimism that claims everything in reality can be changed by the mind alone. Human beings live within environments, physical conditions, and social relationships, all of which clearly exert influence. What matters is how one lives within those conditions. The attitude one adopts shapes the quality and direction of life. Modern people often try to confirm their value through external recognition and achievement. This can be understood as a kind of default program formed through long-standing education and social structures. But when we rely solely on this program, we exhaust ourselves in endless comparison and a persistent sense of lack. In contrast, when we become aware of being alive in this very moment, and accept our existence itself as a sufficient foundation, life begins to take on a different texture. Feeling the rhythm of a heart that never stops beating, recognizing the continuity of breath, these are not merely physiological observations. They can become acts of restoring a fundamental trust in one's own existence. Such awareness forms a quiet self-esteem that does not depend on external standards. From that foundation, a human being can think and act with greater freedom. What is important is this: what kind of world do we accept as real while we live? Choosing inner peace and a sense of fullness is not an escape from reality. It is another active way of shaping reality itself. And when that choice is repeated, life gradually aligns in accordance with it. This process is not a mysterious miracle, but a natural flow arising from the interaction between human consciousness and life. Therefore, we must continually remain aware of our inner state and choose which state we will reinforce as we live. Because those accumulated choices ultimately create the world of a human being.